Ragazzi, come fanno a fare Disney dopo un rompicapesa? Cioè io ci ho pensato per un secondo, ma anche un minuto solo, ma anche senza The Hague and the empty buildings, perché quella roba è stata già presa prima in Nails da tantissimo tempo con rompicapesa, perché essendo la leader, quelli sarebbero andati Mermaid con me, Titanic, before they could see it even coming, capito? Incluso, cioè il rompicapesa, incluso la CIA, perché se la CIA vede tutte queste perdite, poi alla fine quelli che stavano con lei già sono caduti, non è che quelli nella CIA stanno là a guardare tutta sta merrata che è da losing. Che pensaci al secondo, scusami. Il fuoco sulle coste che sono brucia là sui coastline, cioè quel fuoco là c'era già. Dunque, quelli che sono caduti con me e tutti quelli che ci avevano un plan mass avrebbero fatto quello che fanno i professionisti, non solo quelli che volavano e correvano sui coastlines, facevano le cose nel mondo, ma anche le perdite. Dunque, le perdite sono permanenti on this earth con i plan mass. Proprio in tempi stupidi, that's what they lost in the US, che non gli piace, perché il trigger sarebbe questo, no? We can't smash the head in of advanced intel on the coastlines and have the Hague and pay for referendum as average. You can. Questo è il tuo problema, US. And I'm going to say problem now, because it already happened. Dunque se è già successo su cazzi tua, because it's all news on the news, the nails. Capisci? Questa è già una cosa vecchia. Dunque è una questione che queste puttane Eve americane, perché they are puttana Eva, perché you could say puttana Eva for the baby, però alla fine del giorno il baby non è l'originale, perché già c'è Lake, già c'è il Roman Tribune. Io di queste cose non ne parlavo perché fa paura, perché a parlare agli americani, cioè al resto del mondo lo sanno già con i nails. Nails sono un thing, capisci? Connected dots global. Ma qui in San Francisco e Fresno, essendo tutti psicopatici che odiavano la Jamila, e non fa niente che erano De Fresno, che stavano in prigione federale nel Regno, questo non fa un cazzo di differenza. Il fatto è che le americane, American girls, tu devi capire, this is a game for them, capisci? They already smashed the girl's head in on the ghost lines and they know about the Hague. So for them, they're just playing with a mouse. Because they couldn't do that shit on the coastlines themselves. Dunque questa cosa dei nails, che succede, questo loss che era permanente nel mondo, rimane in the US as a loss, anche per la CIA, perché la CIA non può dire, poi alla fine anche se c'aveva un problema dentro il CIA, quelli, sai che c'hanno veramente the losses, because the ones who fell with that girl ages ago, pure nella CIA, they fell. C'hanno i blood mass, quelli non è in Fresno, quello è su coastlines. In altre parole, quello che è successo sui coastlines is permanent. The nails is permanent. The shootout bridges on the coastlines around the world is permanent. That's a loss. E di questo in Italia si parla, ma si parla anche in Inghilterra, in Germania, in Russia, in Saudi Arabia, in Arabia. Non sono stata in Turchia. Dunque di queste sono news on the news. So I don't see why, se that girl had been so famous for that, then she becomes known. Per cosa? Rompicapesa e poi they try to make a prostitute, quello ovviamente non ha funzionato, però c'era il rape, c'era quello, quell'altro nei homeless centers, dopo per esempio a Dolores. Perché? Perché all'inizio il Crowley è un'altra cosa, perché Crowley c'aveva la casa sull'Italo Crowley, perché io praticamente mi hanno sbattuto fuori con il truckload di Carlo Bertone per uscire da Fresno, e io sono uscita, sono andata nei vari posti. Il problema è che they kept my house, cioè mi hanno tenuto la casa sotto il mio nome, usando la pretesa che mia madre aveva la demenza e che non ce l'aveva, ci aveva data la mentalina. Dopo un paio di giorni è passato, però l'hanno presa lo stesso, dicendo bugie. Dopodiché io sono scappata e quelli si sono tenuti la casa sotto il mio nome per 2 o 3 anni. Questo lo sappiamo di già, questa è anche storia vecchia, perché per loro the Hague and the losses on the coastlines are there because they smashed the girl's head in. In altre parole, il fenomeno che era leader di questo movimento in Europa, with the guys who fell with her, all news on the news, the nails around the world, dopo il rompicabezza, they took the little mouse, the Disneyland, volevano fare, let's kill her, we can't kill her, but we can't, not because c'è il Hague, c'è il Bureau de Veritas, c'è il Roman Tribunal, if we kill her again, there's gonna be the Hague. You're not dealing with intel on the coastlines, perché that they can't reopen it permanente, it's all news on the news. You're not dealing with the Nobel Prizes and those guys who worked with that girl. Oh, she was the flyer and the runner, right? With the others, and the other professors are sitting on their ass, correct? With the blonde hairs. You're not dealing with that. You're dealing with the assholes in Frisco and Fresno. In other words, the careerists, the ones who don't like you, people who just bump you off just to bump you off perché non gli frega un cazzo. Allora, nel mondo di Intel, that doesn't exist. Nel mondo di Disneyland, that also doesn't exist because the meaning of the girl was bring her back, connected those globals, you're sourly missed. Invece questi subito, you're sourly missed, sei un genetic graft replacement Disneyland, I'll try to kill you, I'll try to take your house, going by prophecy, no? And at the end, we'll smash your head again. Questa è la psicologia of the Americans. You understand this? This is what America is. In altre parole, Dirk Van Damme in The Hague can put all The Hague and the Bureau de Veritas in that piece of paper. You can do all the Roman Tribunal for the abuse, for the little crawlies of the girl and a crazy hospital, even just for the girl. But if Disneyland dies again here, we'll have a second Hague. You see what's happening here. Per loro, the dead baby, after they smashed her head on the coastlines, irregardless of what buildings in Western Europe and Massachusetts and ESA are empty, after that, you have to take the house, you have to abuse, and then there is, very near the end of the number, 4721, which is only 2 slots of Social Security, we also have to smash her head in. The problem is, for these retards, that is going to keep emptying permanently on your earth, US and the US. Why? Because that's our intel that you smashed on the coastlines with those bridges. So you're the criminals. Picking on Disneyland, on the mouse, because you want a prophecy to come true again, is not prophecy. It's mental retardation. Considering that you're forcing it, I think, Dirkian, you'll have to Italy and the European Union. I think we should just add another Hague beforehand. Because judging by the looks of it, that's what it looks like. It looks like after smashing that girl's head in and bringing back Disneyland, there's going to be a second Hague. This is what it looks like. You understand? Because they tried with the Ukrainian whores and assholes and everything else. As for that Irish guy that I had a bit of a crush on over there, he's not a crush, just like George wasn't a crush. George wasn't my husband. The problem with me is I didn't attack George. It was George who hit me, and O'Connor who hit me on the East Coast, remember, with the fishing rod. The problem is they had already destroyed him and his entire family. Why? Because he was a lead from Hookersat, and he wasn't my husband on the East Coasts in 4 states. That's why it looks like a tornado went through 4 states. And if you go to any of the 4 states in New England on the Morgana Shiste, you see, when somebody is flying and running, she doesn't have time for sex. She doesn't have time for anything. The passion that you felt of hate for that poor girl in uniform who was flying and running and breaking space records and other things, at the end of 85 of the parents on genetic ages, my head was smashed on the coastlines, but it wasn't smashed normally. Non è che stiamo a parlare di regular shootouts that happened with the others on the coastlines. No, you smashed Jamila's head in. You smashed her head in her teeth. Ci stiamo a parlare di sulfuric shit here. When I came back like Disneyland, they had to continue, of course, with the Disneyland because they can't handle connecting those globals of 221. They can't. They can't understand these new kids on the block. They can't understand it. Why? Because they smashed a girl head in on the coastlines. They may even have known that there were negatives elsewhere in other continental shelves. Why? Because space records and that shit, the big share wasn't a joke. It was the historic one. It wasn't just CIA. It wasn't just a flyer and a runner. It was a flyer and runner with something in her head, not in her ass like the Americans. And considering that you call me a particular corn cob Disneyland and take that corn cob out of your behind, I'm telling them something else. I'm telling them I'm Disneyland. That girl already had the Hague. And if there is particular corn cobs, those particular corn cobs are Ubermensch. That's the eggs, and they're all over the world, and everyone saw them. They even saw the Superman buildings. They've seen them in Warsaw Internationals in Russia and Saudi Arabia and Cairo and Rome and London, even on the East Coast. They've seen those boys, but they're not boys. They're Ubermensch. You understand? Now, if you smash somebody's head in on the bus lines, no one's gonna fucking forgive you for that shit. That's not the same person. In Western Europe, they said that our national treasures are your trash on the bus lines. That's all news on the news. This is not a political thing for presidents. Presidents cannot go near that shit. They don't even know that shit exists. They know of it because they're puppets, even the intel. But even the intel there is not doing that shit. Therefore, if that girl had her head smashed in and she was the leader of that shit, of that pack, okay, then those flies and runners and the intel within the US will have fallen long ago with her and have the plum hat. That's the Nails Globals, you stupid retard, and you're not going to change it. That's a permanent loss. With the corporations in Western Europe, you're in a permanent loss of that. That's our own that you smashed on those lines. And that girl was the leader. So if you smashed her head in, of course there was the old news on the news, the fall, the wormhole to the worm, the whole shit. You stupid fucked up retard. And space-time and all that shit's gone. So, after you smash a person's head in on the ghost lines and she comes back like Disneyland, we know what 221 is. Now, considering that you hate that girl till today, the plummet time, we were saying, if that's the crimes that happen in the US, we would like to stay out of this country. Our kind, our ilk, our beautiful buildings, which are empty already in Massachusetts, as in NASA, Miller, including California. The closest I can give you for a high school analogy for free is that the element boron is not related in any way related to the element of McVariant. Okay. The problem with you is that you will never learn. Disneyland can come back as a candle in the wind, but you will never learn. You don't even know how to grow your vegetables. Because your bitches, if they kill them tomorrow, they ain't gonna reopen no shit. That's what you were jealous about. You were jealous of a girl who had all of that. When she died, there was a price to it. And it was such a fucking price to it because she had others with her. Those Bridges. The leader of the pack. And she was a female. Okay? Even in stupid times. The boss know it for a long time. That's why they don't touch that girl. Not in Italy, not in England, not in Western Europe, not in Russia, not in Saudi Arabia, not in Arabia, not Turkey, in Africa, not in Asia, not in South America. US, you are simply responsible for this. That Ukrainian who was in federal prison in LA is from Fresno. Okay? The same with Grabsky, who was an Ukrainian. I'm going to have to say it. I'm going to just have to spell it out for you. Okay? Paying cycles doesn't count in Paul Exit, Article 7. The war in Ukraine, Chemytin Castle with 8 million Ukrainians loitering in Poland. And he was in London. Okay? And he had stalked me there, and he was obsessed. He had already suicided numerous times in front of the university. I am not going to waste my time. I'm tired. You understand? The girl has finished already. She's already had the rompicabeza. She's already done the crab to the malted, to the candle and wind. She's already finished. You understand? So when you already have Hague, Bureau de Veritas, Roman Tribunal, considering that we are in the United States and we already have the psychos after me, I would prepare a second Hague for me. And I'm staying here. If they kill me here, at least the government is going to end up paying more. Okay? Just to show what the fuck the US girls and boys are. Females and males. After all, I'm only Disneyland. And I'm not worth anything. But because I came back with a meaning, and that shit's empty, and I cannot even ghost myself around the world as Disneyland, within the US, then I think we should come to that conclusion. I'm not saying that I'm going to kill myself. No, I'm saying that the Americans are not playing any game. They've lost us ages ago. They've lost the intel that we represented in Western Europe. They lost the corporations that we represented. They lost the flyers and the runners. They lost the leader of that pack by smashing her head in on the ghost lines, and that's all news on the news, the nails. So don't start with me. We have a piece of paper 221 to prove that. And because in Holland, that city, we have, I was in Lowlands, we have Hawkersett, Graph City, where I'm from, New Hampshire, and that's it. So I'm the course celebrity because of that. I was already famous before that girl. That girl was already famous for what she had done in Intel. She was flying, so running, she didn't have time for anything. When I come back like this, it's like, okay, I don't want to see that bitch. I don't want to see her. I don't want to see it. She's only got the eyebrows of the original Jamila. I don't want to see her. You see, I don't care if I'm going to be put through all the pain and they remove my teeth. I'm a genetic aberration in the UN school's little baby's name was Vanessa Fingers and Kirkland with the strange long legs and the whole shit. I don't give a shit. Annika, her sister, anyway, died of cancer and holes in her head, and she blamed me for that shit. So I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. And Basler has a sister called Annika, so shut the fuck up. Airspace doesn't come cheap. Space bakes don't come cheap. Empty buildings of space sciences don't come cheap. Massachusetts and NASA. Science technologies don't come cheap. The new ones. Other sciences in Western Europe, space breakers don't come cheap. You smashed that girl head in, the plumbing time, July 20th is that. That's a dead baby. That's why it's July 20. You idiot. And I was on Lowlands. You idiot. Now, if that girl had her entire body smashed into bits on your ghost lines and she was the leader, those bridges are the guys who were with her, the shootouts around the world, from DC to Rome, to Russia, to Cairo, Dar es Salaam neighborhoods, to London, and Warsaw Internationals, the Square Hostel, okay? That is pink and the grey bridge. I am not going to waste my breath as a dead baby, as a ghost of myself, repeating this. Now, so if you want to continue your abuse towards Disneyland, considering I have 2 blimps in time to live, we'll have a second Hague for your government. We'll not even bother with a second Roman tribunal. We'll simply go for a second Hague for Disneyland. And your government will end up paying enormous amounts of money just for that. Why? Because when they bring back dead babies, literally from the original girl with no teeth and empty buildings around the world, the reason that happens for a blimp in time in the intelligence communities, namely Delft 221, literally, di nome di fatto, that girl is gone. Okay? Now, picking on this one for a split second shows to me who you are. Especially if I was running and flying, didn't have time for anything. And at the end had my head smashed in. Of course, they make negatives out of that girl in Western Europe with the eggs. I saw the news on the news today. We still don't have building of bros, but they're not the original Jamila, because she had her head smashed on the ghost line. She doesn't exist. Technically, that girl doesn't exist. I don't exist. Those boys don't exist. We're different. We're the most famous non-existent brothers and sisters on the planet. I'll actually invisibility. So, do me a favor. Okay. When you smash that kind of intelligence on the ghost lines, it pays in kind. And that's the highlands, not the lowlands. If there is any bros, as they keep claiming with these eggs around the capital cities, I would keep my mouth shut about that. Why? Because your CIA is understandable of that. They're advanced. The advanced ones, the Ubers, not your Monica Lewinsky's and your bitches. Not some college grad who wants to have some beer. Okay? Those guys know what that is. They know what those breaks are. So they know that if that girl transformed into nobody overnight after you smashed her head, and that there's those guys, they know what a hole in the wall is in other countries. Because they would have reborn that girl as negatives. They wouldn't have wasted her on the ghost lines. And those other girls between Kirkland, Vanessa, Musk, and all the others are saying, really sorry, but we don't have empty buildings in space sciences. You should have stayed alive. You shouldn't be at this elementary primary school. You should be still in St. George's, not at St. Stephen's, the pink school. And the reason we put you with the presidents and the other kids at the end of your life is because at the SS school, which is pink, the faces change, the names change. They're all fake names. You're pinky and there's blues. And those blues no more will be able to reopen all those buildings of yours. They'll just simply stay empty. And if the other guys continue without you, because the nails and the globals with the plum hairs is all news on the news, the fall, the guys who fell with you, the CIA with the plum hairs, they have to fall. They had to fall with that kind of intel. They wouldn't have been able to stop that girl. She was something else. So if you smashed her head in on the ghost lines, the void has already happened. Globals. California coastlines. Now stop calling me Bin Laden, motherfuckers. In other words, you lost. You lost by smashing Jamila's head on the ghost lines. Western Europe said that that girl was a phenomenon. Western Europe said those buildings that were empty were hers at La Sapienza and in Woolwich and in Germany and Space Breaks. They already made phenomenon to Fifi. If you kill Fifi, we will put a second Hague. Because it shows who you are as people. If you admired that girl, if you had seen that girl in Western Europe, if you had seen that girl in the UN in Italy, if you had seen that girl in England, if you had seen that girl in the inner circles when she was alive on her flyings and runnings, if you had seen that girl in Russia, if you had seen that girl in Arabia as a Turk, you would have died for her. You would have died for that girl. You would have sunk ships. You would have done anything to save that girl. With that intel in her head, that of the 21st century 221. That's what they did. They did a mask out of that girl. They smashed her head in, those guys fell, sunk ship, the whole shoot. You're jealous of that. You're even jealous of that. That's what you are, US. That's what's famous and known about you, US, not about me. I'm famous and known for something else, you bitches. Your whores, your skags, the whole shit. I don't care anymore to tell you who you are, US, with your boyfriends. You're comparing yourself to something you never had. So when they brought back Disneyland 221 or Delft or Lowlands or whatever, they were looking at a mask of a girl who was no longer Jamila, not the original Jamila, Maria. They were looking at The Hague. They were looking at the Bureau de Veritas. And they saw void. And Connected Dots Global was extremely stressing for me because I wasn't myself. So I was seeing guys who recognized me all over. And they were looking at me and they recognized me. Somehow with eyebrows, somehow. And they were looking at me and saying, oh, Lurch, it's Disneyland. And they were rolling their eyes. They knew the losses. Just to remind them. Just to be with them, a few months here, a few months there around the world. For them, that was disgusting. It was enough to make them vomit. And these are grown-ass men. When they remembered that the original Jamila had her head smashed in bits on our slides. In other words, you don't understand what this Disney is about. And because many of them had fallen with her, and many of them had the plot hairs with her, even in the CIA, you sat there and found excuses for smashing my head in on the coastlines. When the little mouse came back, you said, well, we can put it in prison, a federal prison. Where? In LA. Maybe we can put a prison in Fresno or something like that. I'm going to do this, I'm going to make it crazy, I'm going to break it, I'm going to rape it, blah, blah, blah. They were so ready for this shit for Disneyland. They had the Hague, the Bureau de Veritas, they had the Roman Tribunal for your extras. This is after Connected Dots Globals and on my literal crawlies for the parents. I was on the crawlies I still had the house, and so forth. Is that understandable? It's sheep whores I am not Jamila. I'll break it to you this way. The best analogy is high school. And this is the analogy. Around the world, they thought that the element of boron was related to the element of Mach variant. It took the highest intelligence on the planet to figure out that the element of Mach variant was not related in any shape or form to the element of boron. In fact, the element of boron, according to Wikipedia, the encyclopedia, is so advanced and dark, like the parents, that in 80 years, the highest forms of intelligence on the planet won't be able to understand the element of boron. In the words kindergarten, I'm asking the merda, but if you're speaking about a fucking analogy, that's pretty much for kindergarten in Disneyland, to let you know. The basics, the extreme basics on Facebook. Therefore, they call this the fairy tale of the girl. The fairy tale of the girl who doesn't have a brain anymore, not the one she had before. I can be a highly trained poodle in the house. I can be connected dots globals. I can, myself, of course, I can hang out with those guys since birth all over the world, you know. I can do this. Okay? I can do the crawlies, the little crawlies, the whole shit. Now, the Scotland film is the stay-in role for retirements. Why? They showed that my kind is not welcome in your country. The only thing that's welcome in your country is your bitches, your PhDs, your limos, and try to reopen my buildings you want. Now we can stick out other fucking corporations in Western Europe because she was a phenomenon in sciences. Sorry. That happened long ago. That's what we call the pull-in. The pull-in is called, you smash somebody, the leader's head on the coastlines of space sciences on the flyings and runnings, and the sciences, we will sink ship, we'll do this, all news on the news, the nails. Therefore, the losses are permanent until some bitch ass in America can redo what Jamila did, the original, which I doubt. And that's why the Italians were speaking about Rosalba Spista, the Rompicabezza, and the entire Italian Gymnastics Federation had those weird names. Alessandra Trinket, this. They knew that girl was not a gymnast, but they also knew that she was something else when she was alive. Therefore, national gymnasts, elite gymnasts had names that reflected these things, like Rosie of the morning sunrise, that's stated, Spista, the train that derailed, or that girl, or Alessandra Trinket, and Engels, Rosa, she was the one of the best in Robin, and so forth and so forth and so forth. They looked at me as that girl who had broken all those. I wasn't a gymnast. I may have been like a Romanian gymnast there, but I was no champion in gym. And if I was, it wasn't exactly what I cared for. The girl was simply doing physical exercise to train for the flyings, the runnings, and then, for now, after you smashed in my head as Disneyland, for health. Therefore, considering that I had a head bashed in on the coastlines, I did it for health. Irregardless whether it was 6 hours or 8 hours a day for 10 years or 10 hours during summer. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Misha Klimenko, who trained Elena Mohina in Russia, was the national trainer in Rome and would train me 2-3 days a week with the reserves once in a while for an hour or two while he was all from the elite, because he would train the reserves. Me, the Indios reserve. Alessandra Trinket and Susanna and the others. We're not looking at that. Even if Jamila was good. Jamila trained for health. Jamila was not a careerist like you. She wasn't a cheap bitch like you, US. What you assassinated on the coastlines wasn't even an assassination. When will you understand that this is not a movie? The Scotland film is a film with me as a sunflower in that film about a girl who's best friends with that girl who gets kidnapped and her parents stay in Rome for retirement. It's a man of fire. That's how cheap you are, US. And you bragged that you had smashed the head of that girl on the coastlines. You took Disneyland and you wanted to hurt her even more than Miles by prodding on her. Of course we send in fucking Hague, Bureau de Veritas, Roman Tribunal for your fucking crazies in hospital. It's easy to abuse Disneyland in the US on her electrocrawlies. The only problem is this. In 80 countries, she's phenomena with a smashed-in head Disneyland product. A product of stupid times. Thank you, US, for nothing. For nicht. Retarded Americans. Amerikanische Huren. In any case, people are happy. Why? Even Tierhaufen had 66666. That's what about 6969? No, darling. We're Nazis against Tierhaufen. You know what they said? You go celeb even for us. You took, when you died, darling, his voice. That's a fucking American. Shit on you, man. Fuck, they can't even look at you in Disney mode. Fucking retired bunch of people you are. That's why the CIA fell with me. The CIA fell with me long ago. Because they're not going to be playing with you bitches and assholes. Whores or whatever else you are. And it ain't the prostitutes. Don't even bother with that shit, you cheap asshole. In other words, those guys on Connected Dots Global were watching this shit. There was like Matzo, that phenomenon who did all that shit with those buildings empty. Fuck it. Shit, they even added more buildings because there were more corporations. That's a whole fucking package. Motherfucker. And I'm not going to Texas, and this was the brains of the coastlines with the bridges. And that was the leader of the pack. Oh shit, and what do you do to her? You smashed her head in on the coastlines. Ooh, Fena. Fanny! Fuck, she doesn't even look like herself. The only thing she has in common is her eyebrows. Bum bum. Herself. What the parents were? Directorates of USAID. Ostfrutis you are. 160, 180 countries work. 140 countries work. Where were they born? Pioneer camps beyond the capital cities. Pioneer champions at the age of 5. And who the fuck are you to go near my parents? Now, those and me came to the US from retirement. On 92 and above, no one says anything. The intel already knows, of course. The others say nothing. It's okay. That many flyings. She works elsewhere. The parents are in Fresno. 85 the runnings? No, too many times. With the hanging benches of Lara Quintas and Nadia Reck. Lara Quintas is the Supreme Court justice. She's worse than a justice. She's a judge. When Lara says something for 25, 30 years, every fucking justice in there says yes. She is the senior special counsel to DC. One word from that lady, and the justices listen. She's a genius. A genius. She went to Princeton, Harvard, and Yale, and she was a genius. She used to look at me, Lord, she's Amy Quintas, her sister? Lara was a bookworm. Amy Quintas was a beautiful one. Amy Quintas married herself, a nice Chinese man, got herself, I don't know how many theater cars. She owns the shit. She owns it. The whole shit. All 2-3 theaters. Frog and Peach, the Peach and Frog, and who knows what else. Theater companies in New York State. And Broadway. On Broadway. All 3 of them. Now, Amy was a beautiful one. She was a bully, though. Amy was one hell of a bully. Guess what a bookworm like this is. In any case, what I'm trying to say is I was born with Lara, me and Ali direct in Rome, inside the Vatican. Now, I was conceived elsewhere, Saudi Arabia. And, all these thoughts. So, you see, why do they bring back dead babies? They bring back dead babies to show to you. Forever and ever. Per sempre. Fifi. Fufu. Fofo. No, man, I'm not the family range. I couldn't look at that shit. You see, when you were speaking about it, it hurt me. Why? Because you couldn't understand the losses the original losses of the breakers of space. That shit broke. The bridges. They were shot. All of them. And I, being the leader, had my head smashed in on your coastlines. It's a tragedy. The whole fucking world saw that shit coming. On the coastlines. The work was on the coastlines. Motherfucker. Are you ass? Cazzo the history. Of course, everybody's going, it's right in your ass. I'm like, fuck, that was my ass. Shithead. What is their house? Oh my goodness. In other words, what we're saying to you is, regardless of all the blessings for that girl, you are Satan to that girl. And you don't know how to think. You don't understand what the Hague is. You don't understand that a Disney replacement is a Disney replacement. And if you want to kill the Disney replacement, I have to send in the triads. Think about it this way. In high school, they were speaking about the triads and the Hmong, Viet Cong, who don't have a high school education. Bruno, what was his name? They weren't in my class, actually. Daniele and Bruno Benvenuti, they were in Radio Globo. Their parents are the owners of Radio Globo from Brazil. They were in high school. They're Italians. And they were sitting there saying, Resta Roma, bruciala, bruciala. I'm what the fuck, guys? Even the parodia. I'm looking at them, so no, look at that. That's just, I can't look at that shit. I can't look at that shit. That's pink ass shit. That's a big, I can't look at that shit. And the baron, it's like 2 heart attacks, but, and when they look at me like this, it's like, what is it? There's something there. In other words, it's too much. It's too much. Therefore, for me, as Disneyland, so if you smash that on the coastlines, they send in the triads, the Hmong, and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Thai, the Vietnamese, the Milano, Prashamsa, the what? On the 5th floor. And yeah, she was adopted. No, I can't take it. And they will be. What I'm trying to say is, what is lost with the nails around the world? It's all news on the news. They could see it coming. You understand? From this, that's tragic. Just for that girl. To me, you are looking at the crumbs of what they call the Manhattan Project of the 21st century, whatever you want to call it, the losses. And you've been calling me names under the sun. Now, considering that I didn't give a shit for that, it hurt me. You made jokes about it. It hurt me. But I'm doing the crawlies and letter crawlies. I'm thinking of the parents. For the parents of Fresno, with the hanging benches of Lara Quintas and Ali Direct. I'm the trained poodle in the house. Now you add the cycles, you add this, you add that, for all of the stuff. You will never get to the original girl. You already smashed her head in on the coastlines. You already lost ages ago in this country. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, US. And those losses continue. Why? Because this Plum has, there's other agents. And there's other agents that I cannot control within the 52 states in the US. They're bad agents. And they're good agents. And because they are, you see, my specific projects were my projects. I owned my project. Thank you, Amy Guentas. I owned my projects. And those guys had an aim on the coastlines. It's not that this was just like you. It's not like anything, I don't like your ass, I'll kill you. That's not how Intel works. Not that kind, but in other words, you're just sick. And you're not even sick. America, because you push those people to me on purpose at the Lord of Shelter, for instance. You say they're from Fresno, then why are they there? And Dolores is a go vaya con Dios and so forth. Now, what we are saying in the scout division of the Indios is after being scalped and come back like Disneyland, is that not only is there Hague there with Dirk Jan van Dam proving that shit happened and then that shit's empty and it was very important in the wells and the intel communities are missing that girl and those buildings are empty. Then we have, no, she was something else. Then there is, just go ask Los Alianza, go ask Western Europe, shut the fuck up. Ask anywhere that I was born and raised there. Ask the UN. and so forth. I don't need the US's approval for this. I have 99% of the world who knows what that girl did. You can deny it in the US for all I give a shit. In that, I can't change it. But we're talking about the balance. So, and I did connect the dos globals in 80 countries, mostly before retirements. Why? Because I didn't have think of me as the traveling babe. Bust my little cuss. In other words, you were even jealous of that part. So I'm not going to fucking bother with your assholes. You're just sick and fucking disgusting in the US. And now you have The Hague, the Bureau de Veritas, and because you bitches don't understand that girl was a dead serious flyer and runner, didn't have time for anything. When she comes to this, you have to feel something, which would explain why they didn't kill me and they just wanted to have sex with me or abuse me or something or make me crazy. That's what's famous, even with the psychos. Therefore, don't start with me, your federal prisoners and your fucking Jodie Foster and the romance of that shit, because that fucking don't exist. Okay? Now, considering I'm handled in the wind now, because at the beginning I was crab moles, candle in the wind. I had a problem with Princess Diana, now I have a problem with Camilla with the plum heads, but we already knew about that part. We understand what this is. This is a blimp. Plum. Shows up and goes. In intelligence, what we call that is a loss. Because usually when somebody has their head bashed in on the ghost lines, she stays on the ghost lines. No one rehashes a piece of paper, okay, or genetically or in any way. They don't do it. Unless it was the big shit. If it was the big shit, then yes, they will bring back Disneyland. And then, if she gets... I think that the US at this stage has already lost everything. Every respect that comes from Dirk-Jan van Damme, every respect that comes from the Germans, from the Brits, from the Italians, from the United Nations Sciences, from Russia, from Saudi Arabia, any respect that they may have had for the space sciences or techniques or technological techniques, the breakers, we call them the space breakers, again, with the flyers and runners, on the ghost lines or elsewhere, any respect that you had from those guys was pulled out ages ago. The leader of that movement, if you can call it a movement, was me. So those flyers and runners, when they saw that that girl was going to have her head bashed in on the ghost line, together with the CIA, the more advanced CIA, have the plum has. And while you look at the damage that happened on the ghost lines, you still have issues with the Disney version, calling me every name under the sun. Therefore, that explains the Opus Dei, the Vatican, the Brits, the Russians, the South, every fucking religion blessing me. Okay, Disneyland. And I'm sure I was blessed before, but I didn't have time for that shit. So don't be a sole point again. Okay, US. Because you are the sole point, not me. You smashed your head in on the ghost line. You're not blaming me for smashing my head in on the ghost lines, US. United States of Minus America. Rica. Reopen that shit, bitch ass. Reopen the fucking bridges with all the bullet holes around the capital cities on the coastlines. Reopen the buildings of that girl once you smashed her head in on the coastlines, the leader. News is the old news around the world. That's why they call me cause célèbre. They call me cause célèbre because that intel to them should still exist, but it doesn't. And while you claim you have your microchips and your new PhD publishings and everything, that shit wasn't even published. It gets to the piece of paper. It became a piece of paper overnight once you smash my head in on the ghost lines. Takes nothing to have degrees, even for free, with scholarships. Takes nothing to learn new languages. Nothing. But that's a piece of paper. It doesn't change shit. Do you understand now what I'm saying? Or are you still going to fucking hit your head on the wall? Because you're not going to get a hole in the wall if you crack your head. You're going to crack your head. Instead, when you smash my head on the wall, I have a hole, a little hole in the wall. And you know what that hole is? It's not only Disneyland. You know, there's something there. So, I wouldn't have spoken about it in a million years about the eggs. But considering that every motherfucker on the planet seems to know about it and is yelling about it, then I'm going to shut the fuck up about it in the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods and the Little Crawleys also. That's bad enough. Because if you go to the Dar es Salaam neighborhoods and the Little Crawleys and you go to every motherfucking street for several years for yourself on your little rollies, then yeah, there is Conectados Globals, there's that, and of course there's for the parents. So you have to see that. I go to the big cities, the big agencies for the parents, but I'm on my little rollies. I have to stay somewhere. So where do I stay? In the Dar es Salaam neighborhood. Every motherfucker remembers me. They're looking at me in shock. They'll be drinking vodka on the streets in masses. Just, Jamila. She looks different. I can't take it. And the same in Cairo and Saudi Arabia. I go down the Dar es Salaam neighborhood. Yeah. I said, baby, is something left? Can I take care here, huh? These guys, let's see a girl like you. I give a shit. Where's the market? In the very back of Dar es Salaam neighborhood. Oh. Is there food? Food? Yeah, only food. And there's one fucking shop with, I don't know how many kaftans the size of 5 eggs, all white. Like ghosts. I say, excuse me, sir, don't you have any other kaftans here? No. I'll get back. In other words, it doesn't matter where I go. You understand that? They'll run to me. And there's not one street. There's not one alley. There's not one fucking Dar es Salaam neighborhood in the capital cities either. From Rome to London to Russia to Saudi Arabia to Cairo. I'll find out in other countries too. Therefore, this is all news on the news, the nails. So if that's what happened after the girl had her head smashed in on the ghost lines, I really wonder what the original losses were. Chichabella. 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 Chucha science. Chucha cha-cha. Chucha chucha. Chucha yourself. Disneyland knew she was going to be abused. But you know what she did? She took it with a stride. As the Indians would say, who gives a shit? Actually, I don't enjoy any of it. Nowadays, my friends just bump them off. I say, why even bother? They said, you know why? Because they're sick in the US. They're so bad and so sick that we just bump them off. Oh, they're federal prisoners? Even better. Oh, sick was in Fresno. From that. Oh, and a federal prison? Goes Roman Tribunal. Hague, Bureau de Veritas, Roman Tribunal. Yeah, wait a second there, Kim, but what if I am killed again? Well, if you're killed again, did you know? Would it be the Supreme Court of Rome or would it be a second A? Considering I'm only Disneyland and they're just having fun with that. Hague. In other words, it depends what the girl was famous for. We're not allowing you to behave that way. We will sue your government billions and trillions for every half penny of the girl when she was alive and when she's dead in Disneyland. And if that shit continues, because it is ours, you should have thought about the nails around the walls with the plum hairs in all those countries and then within the US long ago. We don't give for free. The intel community is that kind. We'll work with you. We'll share with you. But if you smash her head in on the ghost lines and she's a leader or something, we will kill you. And we will take what's ours. Roman. Give to Rome what is Rome's. US. Back. That's old news on the news. And it's unchangeable. It was a concept. In Italy, in England, they had Italians called concetta, concettina, the whole shit. Concetta Giovino. She was doing cancer or something like that, Moderna. But there was others. There was a lot. Concetta. That's a very Napolitan name. And there were others doing other research. And they said, Jimmy, do you know what they lost? I say, you brought back Disneyland. I think this is a very bad idea. Because the Americans hate And they don't know how to control their bitches and assholes. They don't know. So they think that if they hurt me or rape Disneyland, that they're getting somewhere. The problem with the crab to the literal crab shed to the proverbial candle in the wind, the waxman was long ago, is that you enjoy the pain I have for myself, let alone for the parents. So you're sadomasos in the US, and you're doing it to a dead baby that already has the Hague and the Bureau de Veritas under her belt and is a cause célèbre around the world. So when you come near me with your psychos in Fresno or Frisco or whatever, you're showing to the world that you did on purpose with a lot of shelter, that that we can see you even more. Not only with the Roman tribunal, because by the looks of it, you might kill me here. And if you kill me, we'll have a second Hague. Because you're not capable even of looking at the derelict girl with no teeth. You understand that? And the only thing I have in common with the original is the eyebrows. This is your problem. And they're platinum after the rompicabeza. So when they said insane jealousy and envy and the gossip divisions and not the homeless, you cheap whore, including Daniela Silvestri and all the other gymnasts, you know, the letter of the mermaid, you have to break the heart and stuff like that. At Eur, she was saying they're jealous even of the dead baby who had her head smashed in on the ghost lines. I say, why? I say, because they're sick. Sick. Ugly people, the Americans. Another edition. This comes up, the number, a number like that, like Delph, 221, comes up, plum in time, wormhole to worm, very rarely. In stupid times, it came to me in Hookersec, Graph City. And long ago, they could see it because the girl was, as Dirgen Van Nam would say, an unnatural breaker of space and sciences. So the Hague remains with that piece of paper 221, me, Void. My middle name is Void, Maria. Maria. I wasn't one of them. I wasn't a regular agent. You don't see that. You see the killers. Now you see killers. Now you see the blues. Pink and blues. And I'm the pink. That's all you see after you smash the head in on that girl. You will not see the original Jamila because the head is on your coastline smashed in. Disneyland can tell you that. I'm sure you've understood that by now. Peace. Peace. Peace out. Peace. Peace out. Peace. Peace out. Smell. So that's why they call that girl Roman. And that's why they say, stay out of the country of the US. Forever and ever. Don't come back. Anytime. In stupid times or other times. You can keep your shit. Yeah, because they're losses and you don't want to admit them. And then you even send cycles of an innocent person who, quite frankly, me, is looking at losses and other people are making a cause célèbre out of her with all those losses. Because she had her head smashed in as a leader of that. That's not the parents either. The parents have the hanging benches of Lara Quintus and Nadia Reck defending them. They're born in pioneer camps beyond the capital cities, Norris and Piesches, Norris being Turk, and their directorates. Now, the work of a directorate in humanitarian relief services, Austro, TCY, USAID, in 160 countries for him, 140 countries for her, is work in the helicopters. Those people who go to Africa and South America, Asia, as directorates, and they work with others. Their office was small. It was extremely successful, Austria. Extremely. It later became TCY, but and everybody worked very well together. It was the best. And everybody liked each other. Good, maybe there was some jealousy somewhere else. Intanto, everybody was happy. be there and work. It's hard work. I came back as a Disney fairy tale of the dead girl who had her head bashed in on the ghost lines, seeing void of buildings that were mine since it was a child with no teeth, with the Skull Glen film, telling me to stay in row for retirements. Man on fire. Those were the boys. I realized the rest of the world already knew. I didn't know you did. Because you denied it. You're worse than Iran. You're worse than Israel. In fact, you're worse than the Holocaust. Disney. No country would have smashed the intelligence of that girl. Not China. Not that way. Not with the head smashed in and the teeth smashed in. Not China. Not even North Korea. They have more common sense than that, US. You're angry that that shit's empty because I'm dead. You're angry that those guys fell with me in Western Europe and other countries, Club Balzan and the CIA, with the black mass on the ghost lines. That's old news on the news, the nails. We could see it coming on the ghost lines. Which is strange enough around the world. Not only the agencies, the people. The agencies saw it on 92 and above of the Barons of Fresno retirements. Who Fresno was and what was happening on the ghost lines. On 85, the people saw everything because there were too many runnings of that girl for the parents. I wasn't a careerist. And I did still share intel. The problem with you is smashing somebody's head in on the ghost lines of that kind pays in kind Luna Park. Ask Dirkyan Van Damme. I wasn't alone. The tragedy was the bridges. In DC, July 20, 1976 is my birthday. July 20, 1976. July 20 was the year, the day, 1976, the year when you shut down that bridge that connected the CIA to DC. The Atlas Bridge. It used to house papers of the CIA. It used to connect the archives of the CIA with the working CIA. That was the history of that bridge for that date, July 20, 1976.
Attention please, there has been a report of an emergency. Proceed calmly to the nearest exit.
Not so dizzy, so much stillness, huh?
All handicapped occupants shall use the building evacuation plan.
What a nice retirement for the parents. Please tell me.
Attention please, there has been a report of an emergency. Proceed calmly to the nearest exit and leave the building immediately. Do not use the elevators. Use stairwells where necessary. All handicapped occupants shall use the building evacuation plan.
Forevers and Evers. How did they make the Forevers and Evers, the negatives of that girl in Western Europe after you smashed her head in on those lines? With all those professors and deans who plotting hats and Masabians.
Proceed calmly to the nearest.
They're losers, aren't they? Like me with blonde mass. We're all fucking losers, huh? And what about the parents, you fucking piece of cheap shit?
Shall use the building evacuation plan.
How many flyings of Laura Quintas and Nolly Direct? The hanging benches of theirs while I was flying? How many runnings? How many runnings were there in 85 at that time?
All handicapped occupants shall use the building
Around those capital cities, US. asked for war with Fresno. You started a war, Fresno, on all the flyings and all the runnings. And another thing about this, that you are mentally retarded, that people didn't understand, that the losses were on the coastlines. There's nothing in Fresno. There's no CIA base. There's no FBI base in Fresno. It's just Fresno from the beginning to the end. Cheapos asses. You telling me that I've been flyings and runnings, doing my shit elsewhere, and defending my parents until the day I die, and have my head bashed in on the ghost lines. And you gonna be sitting there and speaking to me about the void of that shit with those bridges? Dar es Salaam neighborhoods with those bridges. You speak about bridges and mosques. You speak about the hostel and walls. You speak about bridges and roads. Cats and about Chabal. And you speak about the bridges and love. But fuck you! And you speak about the inner circles. I'm out of slowly going, darling, you're the best. That's a fuck-up crash. Got something, girl with a dragon tattoo. I'm not sick of sellout. I ain't gonna sell nothing to your shit ass. This must even hurt. Baby. Yes, it's sad. It's sad. It's a tree as a oh shit. Oh, who set them here? Wait a second, ma'am. What was the girl famous for again? What was I famous for? Oh, Disneyland. Okay. Not Segura. That's my neighbor. No, let's be on. And you speak. No. And what about the parent? Wait a minute. Run. And you speak to me about your intelligence, my brother. Fuck you up. You're the word. Listen. Please don't tell me. Donnie. That's why. Coming down. Give me a second. È sensitivo, figlio mio, però, In other words, what I'm telling you is this. You're a heap of shit. Because this thing on the coastlines in California must settle. And don't call me Bin Laden again because I swear by God. And I don't like the Mossad. I detest the Mossad. In fact, if anything, you're going to rat to your ass in a split second for that shit. Fuck. And if they had anything to do with that, every insider will. Every fucking detail. You know what? I'll tell you one thing, little piece of shit. You may think that there's not much intersharing between the Western Europeans and the UN and Russians and others. No, it depends on the projects. If you're speaking about phenomena, but 221 was supposed to be the proverbial share that went to the shits. Now, considering that shit has been going down ever since with the Titanic, I'm not going to be sitting there with London and the others. Brits and Woolwichers, they're in the basements with my heads, with the entire fucking university. All 8 campuses, since I was 15 years, 16 years old, with plan pads. We could go fucking hell. You speak about Watership Down? Fuck you. Watership Down is all news on the news. The NASA has been news on the news since the very fucking beginning. I want to know what the fuck happened. I want to know how those guys smoking marijuana or whatever. In other words, that shit has been going on ever since the nails, okay? This is an obsession. And don't bring in that German if you want to bring in the German. Where's California? I get shit. This is California. I'm not German. Jewish, you're a celebrity, you're half of my button. Not parole. Do me a favor. Yes, c'è stato pure a Roma from tragedy to Roma, what was that? In a split second. E basta. I think I found out who did it. Whatever.
It's all over the building.
All over the building?
Oh, eight only.
Only 8, yes, it's my roommate.
Rooftop.
Yes, I think he has marijuana.
Say it again, pardon?
He had marijuana, my neighbor, and I could smell it so strong. It's sensitive. There was some smoke in the hallway. That's what I think triggered it. Very sensitive. I think so. Sometimes he gets upset and he smokes a little bit too much. The Hawaiian guy with the dog Luna.
Thank you very much.
No wonder Driozzi was obsessed about magic. Fuck it, that's just a baby. The problem with Delcy is that he went psycho, and then he was fired by the CIA. He was fired as a firefighter, he was homeless, then he ran away to Albania. He tried to become a firefighter after South Africa, then he tried to start an NGO. That was okay, but it was okay. And not real quick gas involving only a force Albania. My neighbor smokes in his room, don't worry about it, and he smokes marijuana, and yeah. It must have triggered the thing. He has a tendency to do that when he's upset. And not only him, there's others. I'm the only person who smokes outside the cigarettes. Everybody else smokes in their room. I get careful. Okay, there. Now you're gonna blame me. I swear by God, I only smoke outside. I haven't smoked a cigarette in that room since the day I gave him dessert. Has sense. I already checked it on the 8th floor. I'm okay with it. There goes the Knox. It's going to housing, sir. Better than the Lotus, huh? La 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 la. Yeah, Tenderloin, yeah, because Tenderloin, we got the Black Lives Matter, we got the whole shit. We even have the Germans. No matter what Picasso. 24th and Mission, where the Hispanics are. Who owns that church of Dolores? Hudson. How come they're all for federal prisoners? And that Irish guy. Oh, shit. Just like George. I love George. I'm not saying I like that George. How about the other federal prisoners from LA and the Ukrainians from federal prison in LA that are here in San Francisco from prison? I don't know about. And that other Ukrainian over there? Those hoes? Ukrainian hoes? Assholes? According to just about every motherfucker, even do. Sego. How come he fell in love with her? Oh, suicide? Sego. Sego. Psychosis? I'm psycho. No, darling. You can violate Disneyland, but she doesn't have no schizophrenia, no bipolar. But after all that abuse, she really is a candle anyway. Doesn't make her sick, though, does she? Shit is. Watch a little woman try to go. That's Disney for you. Smashed in the head and come back like this. For what was the purpose of that? Miss. Oh, I'm so sorry. What exactly was the girl famous for? Signore? Signor? Herra? Only that you hear, that this is the Fourth Reich. If I tell you Italian or English, you don't give a shit. If I say it to you in Russian or Arabic, you don't give a shit. If I speak about the UN, you don't give a shit. The minute I say fucking her, you fucking give a shit. For the airspace, from Basler. For dead baby. What the fuck are you in US? Yeah, I'm called celeb. If you want, we have the Scott Glenn film. We still have 147-221 to make it happen. After that, I'm not reborn in those genetic schools as Disneyland. That's all you have to stay enrolled for retirements. For the Barretts. May I remind you that born in Pioneer Camp beyond the capital city, state directorates, the ones? Both of them of humanitarian relief service. Also to UI USA, not Red Cross. And they've been to 160, 180 countries on those helicopters dropping aid. Both of them. She in 140. That girl was good at space science. She broke something, okay? Those buildings are hers, those buildings are hers. BBC, Channel 4, and Messaggero are not going to be bringing back a dead baby. For nothing. In other words, if I'm going to be connecting, in other words, you smash my head in on the coastlines and I have a hole in the wall in Western Europe. How did that fucking happen? Why? The Germans are so good at making Ubermensch from the crumbs, or maybe they knew. Maybe those boys fell with her, the Serenade, the Titanic ages ago, the nails is old news. Now you're going to say to me that South Africa's are retards, the Brits are retards, the Western Europeans are retards, the Italians are retards, the Russians are retards, the Arabs are retards, the UN is retards, the Germans are retards, the whole fucking world's retards, the Chinese are retards. And by the time we finish it, we have a competition of who's the fucking retard. Right? And we have The Hague to boot. In other words, we have The Hague. We have the Bureau de Veritas with Dirk Jan van Dam saying to me, the Dutch, what was it? Oh yes, the Dutch built the Netherlands in engineering and God created Earth. Guess what? You are a phenomenal. But your dad, you have The Hague. We bring you back in time like this. See what the fuck the US does with Disneyland. I would stick in the Roman tribunal for the abuse. Fine. We're ready for that for this out. The best of the best you are. And what about the hanging bitches, the lark witches, and not erect? I mean, flying! The flying start behind and beyond the library for both parents. The run-ins on 85, aboves. You can also say behind and aboves. Then it gets to the top of the library, hits on the left side. Then what? This comes out on the crawlies and little crawlies. After all the flyings and runnings, the crawlies and me. They're on retirements at Fresno, fuck's sake. Intelligence of Fresno. Don't get me this bullshit. It's not even fucking bullshit. So you know the nurses in Fresno with the 5X bras that hated me and the parents? Their girlfriends? What about the doctors? The shootouts? What about, not only, the fame of Fresno, Tom and Jerry Tire Towels, his buddies, his private puppy dicks, claiming that he is the CIA, claiming he's the FBI, claiming that he is all the intelligence of the fucking world. C'è un'altra parola, the fame of Fresno around the world and within the US. This happened in the US. They're on retirements in the US. You didn't see this fucking shit coming on the ghost lines. You didn't see the nails that they protected all over the capital cities with all those flies and runnings. You didn't see the Manhattan Project of the 21st century. Ah, merda. All news on the news. And then they had the pretenses for the Platinum Heads and the lawsuits. Excuse me. If I'm a relic of that shit, I don't want to even speak about that shit. That's a relic. And I wasn't alone. You don't think that those Platinum Heads and those nails around the world. And don't stick in the Germans because I'm not German. But that's fucking California. You got the idea. Now this shit is going around that many times in the capital cities. On my crawlies and electro crawlies. You got the birds, the bees, going around in circles. You have the cats and dogs going around in circles and all those capital cities. You have the Canadian, you have the cement truck, the merda, going around me for over 20 years. And you speak to me about para fucking noia for the Disneyland version. Me da mazzo. You're the bombo fresco. Excuse me. Spaceball. Let's go buy the t-shirts on the East Coast. I don't get me the shit between the East Coast and the West Coast. The fucking scrambled egg. Che la radio, my dear friend, after the rompicapesa of that girl, was invented, my dear friend. 250 years ago. La radio. Radio. In other words, guys, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to start comparing. You even have to score Glenn Phil. What do I have to beg to stay in fucking row? We did everything. We did the opportunists. We did the chances. God, so they even... No, I didn't have time for shit. I was here flying and running. Ma esta cagata qua. Oh, let's abuse her because I'm getting... Nope. The psychos, they fell in love with her. They want to have sex with her. They didn't want to rape. Yeah, they want fuck it. Damn, motherfuckers are nuts. And you speak about psychosis and psychos. Mamma mia, baby, sai che ce ne stiamo proprio a Roma. Cazzo di cose lei. Even, no, you want to speak about your health and blood. That's impossible. I have to run. I can't associate with that shit. That's a tragedy in itself. Oh my God, so a tragedy comedy with this one. Mamma mia, that's why. And what about the parents? In other words, if you could go to Fresno and do a nice baseball, SOP becomes SFL. Direct. Of course you have to go to Chef and George and all that. Tanto George was my husband. That's from New York. They're from New York, California. They're my fucking enemies who tell you this shit. But a me sto cazzo di piacere. That many motherfucking times. E poi, if you're speaking about the grandissima fregatura on the ghost lines, the grandissima fregatura on the ghost lines, it's probably that. The bridges. Oh yeah, the bridge in D.C. July 20, 1976, when it shut down. The archives from the CIA. Sto Burton sta cominciando a rompere cazzo questo cazzo di bridges. They say, all of them. Some of them in the Dar es Salaam, they have these little holes. They hanno da tutto. Over there it's even worse. Shit! In the main square of the Red Square, there's the Sciences. The same like La Sapienza and Woolwich. Oh shit, is empty. The problem is, io mi sono rotto il cazzo. And you talk to me about the parents. Cazzo the science. Forget about the science. That shit's up here. I don't give a shit. Guy, you started World War. That's the retirement of the parents. Okay? I did a share. You were working with that girl on 92, and above, everything is peaceful there on retirement. I'm doing my shit elsewhere with the flies. 85. You already see how many motherfucking runnings there are in 85. Don't tell me you missed the shit. What about the girls? E vabbè, ci avranno i negativi. Sicuramente, da causa fenomeno. Fenomeno became Fifi. Finish. And basta. All news only. Nothing. And plus, that's not even the original. That's not me. And that's not Winnie the Barons either. Fammi sto cazzo di piacere. and between Aroplicabese, which is one of the most illegal ways. Look at that. Hey. And don't forget the sexual Norbert Part in Fresno in 1999 with Tom and Jerry Dyer House at that prostitute house in 1999 with Tria showing me the mass orgy of the wives over there.
Yes.
Welcome to Fresno.
Okay.
A born again Christian. Who? The newspapers?
Yeah. All
The intelligence? The never-ending story of that little lady that's dead?
Yeah.
Thingy? Or maybe the masses, the cats, the dogs, the birds. Maybe the fame of Fresno around the world and back in the U.S.
How you doing, though? How's your day going?
I'm doing good. Oh, look at you. In other words, that's Roman for us. I'm saying for a time. No, but open cats.
Everything all right with you, though?
That's the problem. Even Disney with us, so all that shit and everything. Fuck you! I'm gonna break up!
Yes. You look nice, sir. Always.
Thank you.
You are my girl.
Yeah.
Huh?
You know that for the federal government, I'm a black African American.
Ah.
You know, Sharon Nance in the USA, she said, you know what? Fuck it. They call you Mongol, they call you everything. Listen, you, every time you work with the federal, even as a volunteer, you pay penance in prison or somewhere else, do me a favor.
Yes.
Just write that you're black. I said, okay. But what if I write I'm Mongol? She said, no. That's
Just
abrasive.
write it,
Just
you're
read it black. You know, so we've got our bases covered. Give me
that.
I said, what the hell? What the fuck? She's from Georgia.
So they had a little fire up there.
No, it was the Hawaiian guy. He was having his ganja moment,
Oh.
and he overdid it. It went into the whole way. That's just absolute.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
No, he does that. Actually, he's not the one who causes it. There's another one who does it more often. Another fool. But he, once in a while, he relaxes and he just lets go. But I can smell it.
No. Yeah.
The thing is that sometimes it actually manages to go through the pipes through my door, but it still doesn't get far because it's another room, there's a corridor. But sometimes it actually clogs in the corridor.
Oh.
If that happens, it goes.
You doing okay though, right?
That's the problem.
No one.
I should be in Rome.
Oh, you should be. That's
The parents have to stay in Rome for a time. The Scott Glenn film, did it?
That is the place to be. I tell you, I would love to go there.
Yeah, for them. That's it. Yeah, and now, have you ever seen The Italian Job with Jason Bourne?
Yeah, I have. I've seen that. How y'all doing, y'all? All right, bro. All right. That's a good movie, by the way. Chris.
That many motherfuckers done. Make it a show.
Percy.
Two and above a bit.
Percy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing another party.
Most. Too many running city buses. Actually, that would be nice. And on the sides.
Yes, ma'am.
On the sides. And then, of course, it goes like this. And then this way. And then, look at muscle. I have no muscle. Cazzo di muscle. Questo sarebbe il muscle. Ammazza che muscle. Fammi piacere. Che slack. Useless. I would add 3 or 4 men in that. Ammazza che bros. How many? After you smash my head in on the ghost lines. Hey, specialist, Germany. We're staying in for a time. Shit ass. Your intelligence is present from the very beginning to the very end. What about the nails with old nails or nails? Let me put it this way. If the original had her head smashed in on the ghost lines, you're simply not going to reopen those buildings. Those buildings are empty. In remembrance, they brought back this one. Okay. In remembrance of what? The empty fucking buildings. Of new shit. Now you got new kids on the block, motherfucker. And they're no kids. They're highly intelligent killers.
I'll see you later.
Thank you. That's not beginning. Yeah, those dogs. To the dogs with their own pigabessa. Mazza che be product. And that's not how you make them either. May I add the uniqueness of that girl. Weird, huh? That was the old news on the weekend. The wormhole to the worm, Roberta. And don't touch the Disney. Abused with Disney. She lives in the house. She had to connect the dots for baths. That was multi-fruit. This is shimmery. What about the virus? Hey guys, let me put it this way. Have you seen the vision? For the Disney. Flying was behind. Oh, it wasn't in the library. It was 92 about the flyings. And then 85. And then, therefore, non me rompe cazzo. We're staying in Rome for retirement. Therefore, we educate the firefighters also locally in San Francisco, so at least they get the basics by now. And you only have 147 to 221 to make this shit happen in Rome. They know that, so let's go fast. I'm gonna keep repeating myself for a minute. Hi, Chichucha. Another one. Between Leo and her. What's her name? You know, I never found out her name. Yeah, better not ask. One is Luna. One is Leo. I still have to find. Excuse me. Maybe I'll ask. Excuse me. Can I ask you a question? I know it's stupid. You don't have to answer it. What's her name?
Lovely.
Lovely. Thank you. At least it's not. What was that? Fabulous or something. What's that? Lovely's better than fabulous. What's that comedy? It's two ladies. Fabulous. 18. Drug addicted. Alcoholic. Sorry. Anyway, now that you know the basics once again, good night. That's it.